So what content do you make when you don't know what to talk about? Well, that's the position I have been in all day long, which made me think the thing that we should talk about today are tentpole topics, how to set yourself up to always have something to talk about, always have some content to create. Hi, I'm Brenna. I'm the merch nerd, here to help you use physical products to create and sustain really deep, meaningful relationships with your ideal clients. Let's talk about tentpole topics, because the base of that story, serve, and sell relationship is telling stories, creating content. But you don't want that content ideally to be scattershot. But you don't necessarily want to be repeating yourself all the time either. There's a happy balance there. And you want to use that content to show your value. And so this is where tentpole topics come in. Jenna Kutcher calls this the JK5. Jasmine Star kind of does a 7 set. And that's a little more the visual piece of it. But tentpole topics are basically your core topics that you're going to cycle through over and over again to help people understand the journey that you take them on and educate them, assist them, support them along that journey. And so where do you get those tentpole topics? Well, the place to start is that transformation. What is the beginning part? Like, where do people show up for you and with you to say, I'm frustrated, this is where I'm stuck? Where can you get them to? And what are the steps between those 2 points? A few episodes ago, I talked about steps, cycles, and segments. Steps kind of being if that transformation is really linear. So say if it's a fitness journey, the kind of transformation is fairly linear from, starting with basic exercises and stepping up to more intense exercises, and then even, more intense exercises. In the naturopathic world, it tends to be a little more layered, where we have to, or even segmental, but we're kind of having to work on some deep layers and moving up. Or some approaches are kind of more cyclical, so it's in segments where start with the gut, move on to detox, you move on to hormones, and kind of get everybody balanced, or get out of crisis mode into survival mode, get in survival mode into a more foundational mode, and kind of continually working all those different layers and raising all boats at the same time. Whatever that is, whether it's steps, layers, or segments, those are tentpole topics. So again, from a naturopathic perspective, gut health is huge. No matter what you come to a naturopath with, we're going to be talking to you about your gut, either in the first visit or certainly by the third visit, because it's so crucial to every aspect of health. A lot of times, liver function, kind of detoxification functions are big, depending on what your issues are and depending on what patient population that we are attracting in. That may be its own segment, or it may be wrapped into something else. At our clinic, we worked a lot with adrenal dysfunction, thyroid, blood sugar, that metabolic hormone grouping and balancing and optimization. So for us, that was definitely a segment. That was really the first thing we worked on. Some clinics do more of the female hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, or the male hormones, same hormones, just different levels. Sometimes it's more skin-based, sometimes it's more neurological. So depending on the focus of the clinic, there would be a different priority of what systems are critical to address, and those would be part of those segments or layers or steps. So that's number one. And ideally, you want to pull maybe 3 to 5 of those. Honestly, kind of 5 tentpoles is a really great number of tentpoles to have. So what are your core segments, your first things to address with people that's going to get them feeling better faster? Now you want to bring in your story to that. So what is your story within this? And then just some I call them sprinkles, but some things about you personally. what's kind of a thing where they can connect with you. Because remember, the goal of the content is to get people to see you, so to kind of notice you amongst the, all the stuff online, to start to know you, to kind of get to know you some, to like you and to trust you. And not all of that is going to be built through content. But if you were just this very kind of sterile presentation of you, there's nothing for people to connect with beyond the knowledge, and they can get that information from somebody that they want to spend time with more than you if you were just extremely sterile. So so this is kind of where they want to show who you are within reason, within your professional persona, and what makes sense and what is kind of good boundaries to have based on who you're selling to, what you're selling, who you're trying to serve, and how you're trying to serve them. But you still can show your personality. So in terms of tent poles, and I'm still figuring out the merch nerd tent poles, which is why I struggled today. Again, these are the big topics. These are if you were writing a textbook, these would be the headings of each section of that textbook. What are, say, your 5 topics that not only do you have a ton to say about each one, but are part of that transition, are core parts of how you serve people to help them achieve what they want to achieve. Now with Merch Nerd, I know one of those, or at least initial one, is this foundational marketing, foundational understanding of the customer journey, identifying your customer, kind of that just foundational entrepreneurship. Another one is going to be layered on top of that, using that to choose products that make sense both for your individual people and the different points along their journey. And some of that is going to be trend watching, and then kind of sourcing and adjusting from print on demand to drop ship and or drop shipping, self-fulfilling, external fulfilling, warehousing, manufacturing, the different layers of and levels of product acquisition and fulfillment. So that's where I'm playing around. And this topic would certainly fall under the basics, kind of the what you need to know, foundational level of understanding entrepreneurship. But I need to get clear on that. I need to really know what my tentpole topics are. So when in doubt, on a day that, if it's a really great day, but I've also been the whole day thinking, what am I going to talk about today? And kind of, it's fairly, once again, we're 8 o'clock at night, and I'm scrambling to think of something to talk about, and this kind of figured this struggle would be a great thing to share. But I don't want you to be there too often. We're all going to be there some. But having that foundational 5 things at least to kind of say, okay, which one of these do I want to pull from? And what do I want to talk about today? Now, bonus of having a set number of topics is this makes it really easy to do the batch cycle and clone process, where you hit, again, this is where like 5 is your topic list, but it can be, a little, give or take a couple. But you have 5 topics, 6-week cycle, you do an overview, hit all 5 topics, and repeat. And in terms of batching, well, that's great. You know that you're going to make 6 sets of content every 6 weeks. And so you have 6 weeks to figure out what you're going to talk about. Or if you're going to do it, double topic per week, you have that in 3 weeks. And then cloning, you just, clone it from there. We'll talk about that later. But your homework for today is think about, what are your tentpole topics? What, say, 5 things, what are the 5 big categories that are things that you can talk a lot about, that are part of that transitional journey and part of your way that you serve people. All right, I'll be back tomorrow, and we will see what comes up then. Bye. I'm Brenda, the Merch Nerd. I will see you then.